revolt came across our radar in early 2018. We had seen some articles online about them and saw that they were sort of the militia wing of Antifa, also called the John Brown Gun Club. I reached out to the chapter in Shelby, North Carolina over Facebook Messenger, and I received a reply right away. They are Antifa in that they share the Antifa ideology. This particular group sees themselves as armed revolutionaries, and they believe in total abolition of everything, including the police. Once we were finished shooting, they needed to interview me. This was part of my initiation.
If an officer of the state came to your door and asked you questions about your political ideology and people you associate with, how would you respond?
I would say no.
If you were tabling at a gun show and someone loudly accused you of being a terrorist or part of Antifa, how would you handle it?
I probably would laugh.
So Redneck Revolt came across our radar in early 2018. We had seen some articles online about them and saw that they were sort of the militia wing of Antifa, also called the John Brown Gun Club. I reached out to the chapter in Shelby, North Carolina over Facebook Messenger, and I received a reply right away from the leader. His name was Paul Ditz.
She's asking questions about the NRA.
Well, we're the wrong people to ask about the NRA.
Are you a member of the NRA?
Hell no.
Nope.
I hate the NRA.
Really?
The NRA is a white supremacist terrorist organization. Absolutely.
Can I quote you?
Yes.
They are Antifa in that they share the Antifa ideology, and it can be shared by many different groups. Typically, Antifa that you see on TV are the ones that are dressed in all black, and they go and they throw rocks or bricks and start trouble. This particular group sees themselves as armed revolutionaries. They're all about the working class, so they share this communist, anarchist ideals that the working class should run the country with no government. And they believe in total abolition of everything, including the police. Charlottesville was comprised of your typical Antifa black bloc measures. There were also Black Lives Matter. There were multiple chapters of Redneck Revolt that went to Charlottesville and acted as the militia wing of the anti-fascist movement. One of their missions is to arm minorities. They feel that Black Americans and minorities are disenfranchised by gun laws and permit fees. I would say probably around the third time that I met with them, they invited me to go to the gun range with them for what they called range night.
This says semi.
Okay.
That means semi-automatic.
Okay.
One shot for one trigger pull. You kind of have one foot back. And this arm, you want to have both arms straight.
Going to the gun range with Redneck Revolt was especially stressful and scary because A, they had guns, and B, I was wired with a camera. So the entire time that I was there at the gun range, especially while we were shooting guns, I was constantly worried that something would come unattached or a wire would show. So I had to just be very careful about how I was wired up that night. Once we were finished shooting, they turned to me and told me that they needed to interview me and that this was part of my initiation, as part of my probationary period. They basically led me out back of the gun range and we sat outside where they asked me various questions about my ideology.
If an officer of the state came to your door and asked you questions about your political ideology and people you associate with, how would you respond?
An officer of the state, like who? Like,
It could be
if they came to my door and asked me about my political...
If they said, do you know Clyde and Millie? And can you tell us about the political work that you do?
Oh.
How would you respond about that?
I would say no. For one thing, I think if they came to my door, they would have to have a warrant in the first place, wouldn't they? And especially
Well,
just...
Maybe
yeah.
not.
Well, especially to start asking random questions like that. Yeah, I mean, I would be like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I would just say no and probably not say much else. I mean, I've been taught, like, you don't talk to cops. I mean, I don't agree with, like, going and shooting police or anything like that. But, or, like, hunting them down and whatever.
Definitely.
But, yeah,
we're-
I just think, like...
We're an above ground organization.
Yeah. So
So if you want to do
Right.
it, you have to do it on your own time.
oh, no.
You can't talk to us about it either. Or if you do it and we find out about it, we're going to have to kick you out of the group.
Oh, no.
In a hypothetical situation at a gun show, if you were tabling at a gun show and someone loudly accused you of being a terrorist or part of Antifa, how would you handle it?
Like, if someone said it to me directly...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And someone's being directly confrontational with you in a crowd
And they
of
said I
people.
was a terrorist?
Yeah, part of Antifa.
You're an Antifa super soldier and you're going to...
You get paychecks from George
You
Soros.
kill babies. George Soros is paying you to attack the government and you're getting
Right.
paychecks from Hillary Clinton.
You're a goddamn fan.
I probably would laugh.
So their heroes were people like John Brown and Harriet Tubman. One of the first meetings I went to was really interesting because they were handing out coloring books that they made for children. It's got, some illustrations of Harriet Tubman, John Brown, and some other people like that. While I was in North Carolina, in the Charlotte area, one other thing that I was doing on the side was I was working as a volunteer in some campaigns. Initially, when Redneck Revolt found out that I was volunteering, they were okay with it because the candidate was my friend. After I had been in the group for a few months, I had already passed the probationary membership. They had already voted me in as a member. They confronted me over Signal, which is what they use for their communications. They confronted me with the fact that I had Facebook posts in support of a candidate for sheriff. And that's where they said to me, that's where we fundamentally disagree. We don't believe in reform of any kind. We believe in complete abolition of the system itself, including police. So that was a major issue, and they ended up telling me that they had a lot of concerns. The words they used were they had security concerns about me and that I should not come back to the meetings again.